Well, his real name is Daniel Walker, but you might know him as Dan the Humorous. Well, it's important to know that real name, especially when you want to sign the checks. He joins us virtually this morning from Port Harcourt. It's good to have you on the program. And we promised Nigerians that it's a season of joy. So this is our Joy to the World package on Boxing Day. And you know, I was just chuckling before we came up. I remember some poster you put up some time ago saying you were running for a political office. And just before you came on, we're talking about women representation in politics. So why aren't comedians, entertainers pushing for some sort of representation in politics, affirmative action, if you may?
Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Marvel and gentlemen.
Go on.
Yes, so good to be here. Yeah. So, first of all, we are Nigerians before we are whatever it is we are professionally. You know, we are certain things, you know, to aspirations, basically. So if you see a comedian trying to run for office, that's just a Nigerian trying to be a Nigerian, trying to do it.
Oh dear. Looks like the connection is trying to play a joke on us.
No, it's not. It's not a joke. For some it might be small crews, you know, but you have some serious elements amongst us.
All right. So, I mean, let's talk about the business of the day. It's Boxing Day, Christmas. And I know for you, I'm actually a big follower of you. I know you always talk about what obtained then and what's happening now. And I wonder if much has changed, the Christmas of then, the Christmas of now. Have you noticed any change, something that perhaps may have piqued your interest?
A lot has changed. I mean, particularly with the children of nowadays and our time. A lot. I was telling people last night in Port Harcourt here, our highest Christmas group back in the day was to go and watch Masquerade. You know, to go and watch Masquerade. In Port Harcourt, I will call it Agaba, to go and watch Agaba. You know, and come to think of it, it didn't used to make sense because there's a popular Masquerade here, it's called Watam. And you will pay 50 naira, 100 naira back then to go and watch Watam. Only to wait for one time to fall from the roof and start to chase everybody to flog you. I'm like, we are paying money for Masquerade to chase us and flog us, you know. But in this 2022 now, these children, they don't know Masquerade, they don't know anything. They are by themselves Googling hotel, Googling resort, Googling things that will take hundreds of thousands away from your soul. that this is where I want to go. But Dan, and if you say no, you can't go, they'll squeeze face. Yeah, Dan, I was saying, who are you to squeeze face for your father?
But Dan, there's something you can't take away from us now, right? Back then, now rice is commonplace. Then I mean, you could eat rice 7 days a week now, but then you only ate rice during Christmas. So that's progress, right?
Well, if you look at it, it's not really progress, it's responsibility.
Really? Why?
Because then we are not paying the bills. But now we are paying the bills, it's touching us. But you made a very valid point because we used to eat rice and stew, particularly Sundays from time to time. But there's something about the stew they prepare that Christmas morning, not the night before. There is something about the fried plantain that morning. I don't know if it's the Hamatan or maybe it's the small thing Santa is finding us as he's flying through the hemisphere or something. But there is something about that rice. And the beautiful thing about us growing up then was that Christmas is the only time you could eat from your neighbor without your mother frowning. It's the only time they'll say, come on, hey. You won't need to look at your mother. Like, mommy, should I go? Should I not go? That one, free food for everybody. You go around. And for children like us, that was the only one time in the year where we would drink mineral, full bottle. Only us. We hold it from the base. Like this.
Oh, dear.
I expect that Marco wants to come in on this conversation.
Right.
You still have to be careful. You still look at her to know whether you could actually drink the full bottle because you still have a number of visits to make and you cannot drink a full bottle going around all of the visits. I'm loving your glasses this morning. I don't know whether it's because you're in Port Harcourt, because it looks very similar to a particular type that we've seen on air several times coming from Port Harcourt. But, talking about comedians in politics. Talking about comedians in politics, some people will say, no, maybe comedians should just continue to make their jokes, because looking at what's happening in Ukraine right now, maybe we shouldn't mix comedy and politics. It could become very serious. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say, just like I was answering Kade's question earlier, comedy is a profession. It's a highly highly intellectual profession. The level of wit that we put in to put together our materials, our routines, you have no idea the work that goes on at the background for just one simple joke as it is. So I see my job in equal standing with any other job. Doctor, lawyer, journalist, what have you, banker. We study. We have some level of training to go. There are books that we read on comedy, how to construct jokes, stand-up comedy, arts, breaking jokes, elements of jokes. Whatever joke you have, if I hear a joke, I can break it down. Do you know that in a joke, for example, there's a formula to it? You need to have your setup, you need to have your premise, you need to have punchline. Your landing point, your punchline. The four of them, I can bring you, okay, this is the setup, this is the premise, this is the landing point, this is the punchline. There are rules in, rules of three, mathematical rule of comedy. So that being said, the man in Ukraine, well, I don't will do. Or he's a comedian. He is just a politician, and they say man is a political animal. So that's a political animal just politicking, doing his thing, and it's not because he's a comedian. Because if people that pay comedians know that when it comes to pricing their price, they don't crack joke with that one. So when you look at what some comedians bill you, you will know that they're not here for jokes. And the truth of the matter is, particularly maybe from 2027, you'll be seeing a lot of us, in the scene playing fully. I'm sure by now, some of you are shocked by some actors that you are seeing, and then when they are talking politics, you're like, oh, these guys are big politicians, talk, So very soon you will see comedians, and you feel, and I must say that Zelensky, what a time to be president. Yeah. One time we will come back to join president, drink champagne like everybody. Russia will knock you with war to show if indeed you are a leader or a true politician, or you are just there to do comedy. But the boy is trying. The boy is trying. And we're encouraging our other people to let them come out.
Dan, I must say that your work indeed is a lot of job to do, and it's good. I see that you recently even went back to school, got some extra certification, and there's way to go. Perhaps you're preparing for that 2027, but there's something trending out these days. It's a political season, and one of your colleagues had a big show, Sabinos, and then it got quite political, and people thought, there's creative license, you have freedom to be creative and all of that, and also, especially the satirical angle to it. You're not just meant to crack jokes, you crack politically conscious jokes that essentially speak to the heart of issues in a very funny manner. So I don't know, how are you approaching this? Are comedians meant to be political or not, or just find ways to still do their thing and ensure that they contribute to building society?
So the thing about comedy is that, leave politics aside, comedy must punch something. We're talking about childhood now. We're talking about Christmas back in the day and now. That's referring to somebody's, let me use the coinage, Ajepako lifestyle or Ajepako past. For every joke you crack, you're speaking to somebody's life, you're speaking to somebody's lifestyle, you're speaking to somebody's exposure, you're speaking to somebody's perception. So when you're cracking jokes about whatever, you're cracking jokes about music, I could crack a joke and fault the lyrics of your favorite musician. for example. I could crack a joke and talk about the way your favorite preacher preaches and his style and bring out the humor in it. You know, the beauty about comedy is that sometimes we say the things that the people do not, are not able to say or cannot say or will not say or do not even, are not seeing it from the lens that we are seeing it from. So we have, I want to believe that we have the creative license.
Right.
And if you look at it, when it comes to satire, we don't really we just say it as it is. You know, that's how it is. By the way, let me even take this opportunity to make this point real quick in 4 seconds. When a politician does something anyhow, the next thing you see is open and saying, oh, that's a comedy something. Comedy is a noble profession. Who do Please.
So the joke is always on someone, and I see sometimes it's on the comedians themselves. Well, Dan, we have to run now. I mean, you can catch a lot of Dan online, on social media and all of that. He has lots of content. But thank you so much for sharing at least joy with us and speaking some serious talk as well. We'll be speaking with Dan the Humorous. He's a comedian, global comedian, I would say, not just here in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good morning. Merry Christmas.
Wish you the same.
Well, shouldn't we be saying that's where a good place to anchor?
Yeah.
Because, hey, let this laughter continue and let this joy continue. Let nothing take it away from you, irrespective of the circumstances. That's the difference within happiness and joy. I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful and joyful rest of your day. And
make sure to always catch your mom's glance before you collect that food. Right? I'm Kayode Kikilo. Have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Merry Christmas once again.